Welcome everyone. Today's topic is virtual tour. We're going to pick a couple of properties. We're going to focus on one that is in Berwyn, okay? Because Berwyn is an upcoming area. So I want to show you before we dive into the property, you've got to really focus on three basic things when analyzing a property. Okay, so I'm going to put them on the board before you even jump into looking at the property. So number one thing, if somebody comes to you and says, hey, you know, we've got a wholesale deal in Berwyn. Okay, so number one, location, right? So Berwyn, is that a good area? Is that not a good area, right? So this is something that you really need to understand before you even look at the property. So you need to know what type of area. Is this a B, an A, a C, a D, right? So you need to understand the economic viability of the area. Second thing that you need to understand is what exit strategy Berwyn supports. So in this case, we're going to be talking about Berwyn, okay? So those Berwyn support flips. Those Berwyn support rentals, or both, right? And then number three, you need to look at three things: ARV, rehab, and your maxed allowed offer. So this is how much are you going to pay for the property? So those are the three things that you need to take into account. Number one, location. The economic viability of the area. You need to understand the employment. Is this a great source of employment? Because guess what? If Amazon is coming to a neighborhood, guess what's going to happen to property prices? They're going to go up because demand is going to go up, right? And supply is still low. You've got to understand if there's a lack of employment in that neighborhood, of, let's say there's a big layoff of a big company in that neighborhood, because that's going to impact property prices. It's going to impact who you're going to rent to, or it's going to impact your vacancy rate. So super, super important to understand the economic viability of the area. Second of all, you need to know what your exit strategy is going to be. You may not know right now, right? It could be a flip, it could be a rental, whatever the area supports. So some people say, well, I'm just going to focus on flips, right? Well, if you get a great deal in Berwyn, but you need to understand, does Berwyn support a flip or a rental? Because that was one of our first mistakes. We wanted to do a flip in a rental neighborhood. So guess what happened? We could not sell the property. To make things worse, we went over budget on the rehab. And guess what? We overpaid for the property. So we did not understand 2 and 3. So when you don't have a good understanding of 2 and 3, guess what's going to happen? You're going to lose money. And it happened to us again when we wanted to do a rental in a flipping market. And in fact, it was a distressed market where we bought a rental property. Oh my goodness. Getting collectible tenants was a big challenge. Getting contractors out to the property for maintenance, another big challenge. To make the story short, we ended up selling the property. Okay, but let me tell you before that, the first tenant that we put in the property ended up not paying a single penny. So we ended up doing an eviction. It was such a nightmare. Okay, so make sure that before you get too excited about a wholesale deal or analyzing a property, you know the location, the economic viability of the area. So now we're going to be talking about Berwyn. What's Berwyn all about, right? Is this an A neighborhood, a B neighborhood, a C or a D neighborhood? Just as a tip of advice, due to the pandemic, you've got to focus on C plus, B, and A minus neighborhoods, okay? So you've got to stay within this range. Why? Because guess what? Due to the pandemic, the areas that got hit the hardest are D and C, okay? Because guess what? Those people do not get to work from home. So they got laid off. But People living in B and A neighborhoods, they work from home remotely, so they were least affected. That is why whatever your exit strategy is going to be, you've got to focus on areas that have not been affected very hard by the pandemic. Okay, keep that in mind. So the first thing that I want to know about Berwyn, is this a C plus? Is this a B minus? What type of neighborhood is that? And the second thing that I need to know, what's the exit strategy that Berwyn supports? Am I going to be doing rentals there? Is this a good area for flips? Because guess what? There might be areas that are not good for rentals, but they're amazing for flips. For instance, if the area has really high taxes, guess what's going to happen to your cash flow on a rental when you have high taxes? It's going to kill your cash flow, right? But it could be an incredible location for flips, right? People, it's a very desirable area, so they're willing to pay high taxes because of the infrastructure, great schools, low crime. So it's a great neighborhood for flips, right? But if you're just thinking rentals, well, it's not going to work, right? So you've got to make sure that you understand the neighborhood as far as what exit strategies it supports. And then we're going to quickly jump into the analysis, right? You need to know three numbers. The after repair value of the property, once you make all the repairs, how much are you going to be able to sell the property for? Second of all, what's going to be your rehab estimate? And third, how much are you going to pay for the property? Okay, you want to make sure that you don't overpay for the property, that you keep your rehab under budget, and that it's not a gut rehab, because the money is not in the rehab, right? The money is made when you get a great deal on the contract. And number one, ARV. And these, you've got to be very careful. You've got to be very conservative. Why? Because we are going to have declining values due to the pandemic. Next year, you're going to see a decrease in property values from 10 all the way to 20%, depending on the location. The reason why is because right now property prices are high due to a shortage of inventory, interest rates being so low. But next year, when the courts open up, guess what? All the pending filings for foreclosure are going to kick in. Not only that, but the forbearance program is going to be over next March 2021. So when that is over and people are still unemployed and can't afford to get caught up on the mortgage payments, guess what's going to happen? They are going to enter the foreclosure process. So starting next week, by next summer, you're going to see a big wave of distressed properties coming back into the market. You may not see them until end of the summer, beginning of fall. For sure, by the winter, you're going to start to see some recycling of distressed properties back into the market. So the surplus of inventory is going to make prices go down, right? Supply and demand. More inventory, prices are going to go down. So keep that in mind when you come up with your ARVs. Think about next year. And something important, market swings, right? When you buy a property in the fall, in the winter, you're going to be able to buy that property for 10 to 15% less than what you would pay in the spring or summer, right? Because most people want to move, they want to do transactions in the spring, the summer. But guess what? Real estate investors should buy properties now, in the fall, in the winter, because that's when you can get better pricing. Not only that, but you can work on the rehab to have those properties ready to market them either for rent or for sale in early spring. Does that make sense? So super important to understand these concepts. Once you understand these concepts, guess what? We could analyze these in a matter of minutes. Okay, so I'm going to show you. We're going to dive into the system because I want to show you how easy you are going to be able to analyze these properties. So the first thing that we're going to do, I'm going to share my screen, is understand the viability of the neighborhood. Okay, so we have, I'm going to do on their area reports, I want to look up Berwyn. Okay, so the one thing that I want to understand is, so Berwyn, right here, it tells me that it's a C market. The livability score, it's 70. Okay, so now let me do this. So Berwyn is C, but guess what? A livability score of 70 is in the borderline of C and B. So you have a C plus, this is a C plus, B minus neighborhood. So it's still great. It's an upcoming area, Berwyn. Now, the next thing that you need to understand is what type of exit strategy Berwyn supports. So right here, it's telling me on the third column, cash flow. So it supports rentals. So that's awesome because wealth in real estate comes by owning rentals. So it's a good thing, right? And then the next thing that we need to understand is what are you expected to pay for a property in Berwyn? So if I just scroll up to the right, I'm going to see that the median, the sweet spot to buy a single family home in Berwyn is 190. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind, 190. So in just 30 seconds, I was able to know very fast key points. It's a B minus, C plus market. It supports rentals, and I can get a property for under 200,000. And actually, that is the sweet spot to buy properties. You have to buy properties under 200,000 to maximize your profit and minimize your risk. Super, super important. Now, let's dive into step number 3. What's the ARV of the property? What's going to be the rehab and the max allowed offer? Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I did a power search. So this is the property. This is coming from a wholesaler. It's 2710 Harvey Avenue in Berwyn. They are asking for 124,000. Okay, 124,000. So I'm gonna not share my screen because I want to make sure that you understand these, and then I'm gonna go back and share my screen. So again, B minus, C plus, it's a rental. You can expect to buy a single family home in Berwyn for 190,000. The wholesaler is asking for 124,000. So even before you get into the analysis of the property, I want to give you a rule of thumb so you analyze a property in 5 seconds. You heard me right, 5 seconds. It took me 2.5 years to figure this out, but I'm going to give it to you right now. So if the wholesaler is asking for 124, the next thing that I'm going to do is check this out, how powerful this is. I'm going to do 124 plus 100,000. That's equivalent to 224,000. Okay. What I just did is as follows. I added $100,000 to the asking price. Okay. So my ARV for this property that we're going to look at better be somewhere in the neighborhood of 220,000. If it's not going to hit that appraisal number, guess what? You're not going to be able to cash flow, or you're not going to be able to do a successful flip. That's what we learned. And the rehab should be kept below $45,000. That's the golden secret. Okay, those two things that you need to write down. So add 100,000 and your rehab shouldn't exceed more than $45,000. This is $1 million advice, $1 million secret that is going to save you headaches. It's going to make you look like a pro. Okay, so again, that's simple. If somebody tells me, okay, I'm going to wholesale a deal, they bring it to us and say for 124,000, boom, in my mind, that better price for 225, and the rehab should be light to medium. Therefore, the rehab should not exceed 45,000, tops 50,000. Okay, if that is the case, if you have these two factors, right, that the ARV is going to hit somewhere in the 225 and the rehab is going to be less than 50,000, boom, you get a home run deal. Because when you have that formula, guess what? Um, your cash flow is going to be there. The ratios that the lenders are going to be looking for, I'm referring to the debt coverage ratio of 1.2 or higher, is going to be there. What it all means is that banks want you to have at least 25% equity on the back end. So what does that mean? You buy it for 100, you put in 50, that's 150, you better appraise for like 200. So you need to have at least 25% equity on the back end so that you are able to refinance and have very little money tied up into the deal. Because when buying these properties, you're going to be using a hard money lender or a private money lender, okay? They're expensive money and short term. So you better rehab it, rent it very fast, as fast as you can. If you're going to buy and hold, obviously, and then you need to pay off the expensive money doing a refinance. So when it comes down to doing the refinance, you need to have that back end equity of 25%. So when you add 100,000 to the asking price and the rehab is less than 50,000, boom, by default, you're going to end up with at least 25% equity or more. Based on my experience, what I've seen, when you have these two factors together, you're going to end up with about 33 to 35% equity on the back end. Okay. Let me just give you an example of a property. In fact, we just rented over the weekend in Elmwood Park. Okay. Actually, they moved in over the weekend. We bought the property for 150,000. Okay. So what was my thinking based on the $1 million secret? How much should the property appraise for right off the bat? You better appraise for at least 250, and the rehab should be less than 50,000. So guess what? The rehab was 50,000. I estimated the rehab to be about 40,000, but I made the mistake of not taking into account that all the windows needed to be replaced. I thought we could get away with not replacing the windows, maybe fixing them, but at the end of the day, no, they need to be replaced. So 50,000, and then guess what the appraisal came? So I'm telling you, the purchase price, 150, the rehab, another 50, so all in, 200,000, right? Guess how much it appraised for? Right now, we are doing the refinance. We're closing on it next Tuesday, okay, on the refinance. So the property appraised for 280,000, okay? So it appraised for 280. So do the math. We bought it for 150, right? I told you, add 100,000. So my thinking, this property is gonna price for, I was estimating like 265, 260 to 265. Why? Because it does not have a garage. And a garage is gonna knock off at least 20,000. So when the appraisal came at 280, boom, I was blown away, okay? But that's exactly the $1 million secret that I'm sharing with you. When you buy a property and you add $100,000, boom, and the rehab is less than 50,000, all the numbers are going to work amazing. So not only are we going to be able to refinance on the back end and pay the expensive money, but we're going to cash out 20,000. So the money that we put in for the down payment, we're going to get back, but we're going to have still some money tied up into the property, but it's going to be not a lot, okay? That is just to give you an example of how this secret works incredibly well, okay? So you're going to be looking like a pro when you apply this secret. And you don't need to even use a calculator, nothing. Just do simple math. Now, the next question is, this is very easy, right? To add 100,000 to the asking price, that's simple. But how do you come up with the rehab? I'm going to give you the second $1 million secret when computing the rehab. And it's not a formula, okay? So when you walk a property, you need to look at two things to begin with. Forget about the living room, anything, okay? The first thing that you're gonna look at is kitchens and baths. if you have to update entirely to its entirety, meaning that you need to replace all the kitchen cabinets, you need to redo the bathroom, right there you are at a medium rehab, okay? So it's not cosmetic, it's medium rehab, which tells you that you obviously need to do flooring, painting, light fixtures, perhaps light plumbing, light electric, light HVAC. When you look at a property, you want to look at the high ticket items like the roofs, foundation, windows, redoing new electric, new plumbing, new HVAC. You want to stay away from gut rehabs because, again, the money is not in doing big rehabs. That's when you lose money. You want to stay with medium and light. So when you look at a property, check the kitchen and baths. If they need to be redone completely, you're looking at taking the square footage, multiply that by 2. So if all these properties that we're looking at under 200,000, the square footage is going to be less than 1,700. So let's assume the square footage being 1,700, multiply that by 2, it's 34,000. Plus, we like to add a cushion of 5 to 10,000. So 34,000 plus 5, 39. I'll safely say it's going to be somewhere in the $42,000 range for the rehab of this property. So very simple. Again, if the kitchen and bath need to be replaced, you are looking into the $30,000 to $40,000 rehab right off the bat. Okay, when you open up a house and you need to do those two things completely, 35 to 45,000. Okay, it's going to go over 45,000 if you've got to do like new windows, you've got to do a new roof, you've got to do new mechanical, perhaps duct work, you've got to do new plumbing, new electric, foundation issues. When you've got to do new systems are going to cost you in the range of $7,000 to $12,000. If you're going to do new plumbing, new electric, you're looking at least $10,000 to $12,000 on these small three bedroom, 2 bath houses. Okay, super important to keep that in mind. That is why you want to stay away from gut rehabs as much as possible. So the rehab, again, 3 bedroom, 2 bath house, you're looking at 30 to 40,000, assuming you're not redoing big ticket items, right? Like the ones I mentioned before. So now let's dive into this address that I found or that we got. So this property, I'm going to share my screen now. Right here. Okay, share screen. So I have the screen, the property up on the screen. So what I'm able to see is, I want to know what the ARV on the property is. So this is a 2 bedroom, 1 bath property in Berwyn. So the ARV is about 200,000. So it's coming short of the 225. And what I did is, in ChicagoDealVault, we're going to pull all the comps. There's a comps tab right here. All you need to do is click on search, and boom, we're going to give you all the comps right here. Obviously, you've got to eliminate the outliers, meaning the properties that have not been rehabbed, they're not comps. So the ones that sold for very, very cheap, we've got to remove. Okay, so the ones that sold for like 112 and so forth, I'm going to quickly remove the outliers, 112, 103. In fact, let me see if, yeah, there's another one. Oh, here, less than 100,000. So I'm going to remove the outliers because those are going to be sort of like gold rehabs, 150. Okay, so I think I did remove them. Let's check the ARV. You know, the ARV came at 223. Okay, so removing the outliers, we are hitting the 225 range, 223. Now, the next thing is we need to know the rehab. That's the second thing. So I'm going to show you the pictures of this property. So again, when looking at the pictures, you've got to focus on the kitchen and bath. So let's just quickly check these pictures, and you're going to tell me if you think they need like a lot of work. Okay, so that is the exterior. Exterior, it looks pretty nice. It's a brick home. Oh, whoa, look at that. You see the sidewall? That looks pretty scary, right? The wall has cracks. It's got some settlement, some movement, some. Uh, to fix this, you're gonna need to remove the wall. So this is gonna be very expensive work. Not only that, but this is going down towards the basement. So this might be some settlement of the property, but you don't know, right? So the village is going to have you have architectural plans for the property. Let me see. So it needs a lot of on the outside tuck pointing, right? Windows. The windows for sure look pretty old. So they have the aluminum window or stone window. So that's pretty old. So I'm really concerned about that huge crack. So as you can see, they put a lot of pictures of the exterior. I mean, it needs some tuck pointing. I'm just looking for major cracks. Oh yeah, like here, you see the chimney is missing bricks. So you're gonna need to do a lot of work on the exterior. We're not even in the inside yet. So it seems like at the back, it's got an extension. And then you see this boarded up, so that means that you're gonna need windows there or maybe a repair. Okay, let's continue to look. I don't know, I think that's like a switch. So that's the back. So the siding on the back also might need to be fixed. But you see right here, I think there's an issue with the roof because you see this is a sign of water damage, okay, on the siding. The AC condenser, that looks good. So that tells you that they have central air. So you don't need to do any duct work. It's got a garage. It's a nice backyard. The roof on the garage looks pretty awful, and the inside of the garage, well, it's just filthy. It's got a lot of junk. Oh, but look at these. Look at the roof of the garage right here. On the upper left-hand corner, you see the sunlight. That means that the roof is in pretty bad shape. Okay. So again, when you need to do big ticket items like the roof, like the settlement of the wall, you're looking at $7,000 to $10,000. Okay. So yeah, definitely the roof on the garage. Oh, this is what I was telling you. This is water damage on the siding. This decoloration, the brownish color on the siding, that's water damage. So that tells me there's an issue with the roof. So this is the staircases to the front. And yeah, this is the part of the property that has the issue on the wall. And then you see these, they have some plywood. I don't know what that means. This is where the crack is on that particular retainer wall. So concrete wall, I mean, it's going to be pretty expensive to do this. And the inside is just trashed. But don't mind the trash, that could all be removed. You have to look beyond the trash. Look at the condition of the property. We're going to be looking at the ceilings. The trash doesn't really matter. Oh, the ceiling, right? That's what I was pointing out. So you see there might be some water issues in the roof. Okay, a bunch of trash. Let's continue to look. Whoa. The cleanup of this property is going to be like a couple of thousand, like 2,500 to remove all of these junk, especially from the garage. Whoa, it's super filthy. I'm trying to get to the kitchen and bath, but my assumption is that it's going to need to be redone. So, okay. Yeah, this property needs quite a lot of work. Well, how could the property be so with so much personal belongings? That's amazing. Okay, so we're not there yet. I can't wait to see the bathroom. So I don't care much about the bedrooms, all this junk, it's irrelevant. Um, I want to see the bathrooms and the kitchen, okay? Based on the pictures, I think the windows may need some work. Okay, so this is the bathroom. Obviously, as you can see, it's gonna need to be a gut rehab. Yeah, the bathroom needs to go completely. Okay, that's what I wanted to see. So the bathroom is just trashed. Absolutely. So, whoa, look at that. Yeah, it's in pretty bad shape. And then this is the kitchen. So the kitchen is going to be the same story. It needs a brand new kitchen. So appliances. So we don't even need to look further into the pictures. So based on what we saw, I'm curious to see if we see any of the basement pictures, if they have any basement pictures, because that's going to tell us a lot more if there are some major ticket items in the basement, right? Um, but right off the bat, friends, without looking further, this is more than a medium rehab because you have high ticket items like the roof in the garage and also the cracked wall on the side. So these, based on the size of the property, I mean, the rehab is going to be just for the kitchen, the baths, and the property, the inside, the bedrooms. Again, let's see, this is a two bedroom, one bath. It's going to be close to 35, 40,000 without the big ticket items. So now when we add the concrete plus the roof, you could add easily 20,000 on top of it. So guess what? This is not going to work because when you exceed the rehab of over 45,000, these, just by looking at the pictures, is going to be over 60,000. So guess what? You are going to overpay for the property if you pay 124,000 because this property may appraise for, it's a two bedroom, one bath, right? So it's going to price for somewhere in the 225, but it needs way too much work, over 60,000 in work. Okay, I'm assuming also we're going to need some work on the mechanicals and the roof. Okay, so the roof for sure on the back of the property is going to have some issues. So all these new kind of worms is going to add another 30 to 40,000 on top of the rehab. So the rehab on this property could hit easily 70,000. So the numbers are not going to work. Okay, you're going to need to pay way less. You're going to need to pay somewhere in the upper 90s at the most for this to work. Okay, so we would not take major projects because that's not where the money is. Again, you've got to be in and out. No more than 50,000. That's, in my opinion, that's like a lot for one property. Okay, if you have a two flat, then it's a different story, right? Like, let me give you an example. Right now, we have a property in the contract that it's a two flat. So we're estimating about 35,000 on each floor. So the rehab is going to be 70,000. But again, it's a two flat. So it just makes sense, right? But again, for one door, one unit, two bedroom, one bath, or three bedroom, two bath, the most, again, the most you should focus on rehab wise should be no more than 45, 50,000. Okay, because with that dollar amount, pretty much you're touching everything. You're touching light HVAC, light plumbing, light electric, obviously flooring, painting, bathrooms, kitchens. Um, so it's going to be an extensive rehab, and you might have to do some extensive work on rough plumbing or rough electric, okay, when you're hitting this $50,000 mark. Like in our case, for the Elmwood Park property, we were doing brand new windows. That is why it hit the $50,000 rehab. So just be very cautious, but right off the bat, just by looking at the wall issues and the roof, this property does not qualify for a medium rehab. This is more than a medium rehab because he's going over 50,000. So it doesn't make sense to pay 124,000 for the property because you're not going to hit your numbers. You're not going to have the back end numbers. And let me give you the formula that we use. Let me pull up the calculator. So if the rehab comes in at, the ARV comes in at 225, we're going to multiply these times 70%, and then we're going to subtract the rehab amount. So at least on this property, it's going to be 60,000. Boom. The most you should be paying is upper 90s. I mean, the most for this property. So if you end up paying 124,000 for that property, guess what? It's not going to work. You are going to lose money for sure if you try to do a flip. And if you're going to do a buy and hold, guess what? You're going to have a lot more money tied up because you don't have the back end equity required by the lenders when it comes to refinance. You've got to have a 25% equity in the deal. If you don't, then your money is going to be stuck in the property. So right off the bat, this property does not make sense because of the extensive amount of work. Again, I see investors making the same mistake of taking these humongous projects that are going to take them the entire year to do one deal, right? It does not make sense. You've got to be in and out as fast as you can so that you can do more deals, and that's going to be more profitable. That's going to maximize your return and minimize your risk versus taking one bigger project, right? Because the money is not in the rehab, friends. Imagine if the money was in the rehab, wouldn't you think that like contractors, GCs would be extremely wealthy? Because that's what they do, right? But it's not the case. It's not the case. The money is made when you get a great deal on the contract. You don't even need to do the rehab, rent, or refinance to make money. Once you get a great deal on the contract, that's when you're going to be making money. And that's what's going to attract partners. If you don't have the money, it's okay. If you have a great deal on the contract, they're going to be willing to lend you the money. And we're going to have a session on presenting the deal to get it funded. Okay, we're gonna show you the details. But again, this property does not make sense. So what I wanted to show you using this example is for you to become a pro. Okay, when analyzing properties, let me make sure that. Okay, what I wanted to show you, let's quickly summarize. Make sure the location, right? Focus on B plus, A minus neighborhoods, or B minus, that's fine, C plus, so long as it's an upcoming area. Make sure that the area supports your exit strategy, whether it's a flip or a rental. Like Berwyn supports rentals. If you're thinking about doing a flip in Berwyn, guess what? Your flip is going to stay on the market for over 3-4 months because it's not a flipping market. So super important to understand that. And finally, you've got to understand basic analysis. You need to hit 3 numbers correct: the ARV, the rehab, and the max allowed offer. But this $1 million secret is to add $100,000 to your asking price. In this case, the wholesaler wanted 124, so the property better appraised for 224. That was okay. I think based on the comps and removing the outliers, we came up with an ARV close to the 220, 230 on that 2-bedroom, 1-bath in Berwyn. The second thing was to look at the rehab. By looking at the pictures and the big ticket items in the roof, the garage, and the cracked wall, you're looking for at least 20 to 30,000 just to fix that. Okay, so that's just going to throw your rehab over the $50,000 mark. When that happens, you cannot afford to pay the 124. Okay, remember the rehab shouldn't exceed 50,000. When that's the case, you're gonna need to subtract from the asking price however much money the rehab went over. So if we're adding 25,000 because of the crack, the roof in the garage, etc., then we need to knock that off from the asking price. So instead of paying 124, the most we should pay for that Berwyn property should be somewhere in the upper 90s. That's it. If you don't hit the numbers, you cannot make an offer on that property because it's going to cost you dearly. You might lose money. You may not be able to flip it. And if you decide to keep it, you may not have the back-end equity required by the conventional lenders to refinance. They will still refinance the property, but guess what? You're going to need to have a lot of money stuck in the property. Okay? Are there any questions on the line? I just want you to think and act like a pro and giving you the secrets for you to analyze deals in seconds. So if, let me see, I think I see a question on the line. Okay, so we have multiple questions. Would you replace the whole garage or just repairs? Okay, so you don't want to redo the garage because guess what? Redoing the garage, you're gonna need to pay for the tear down and then the build up. Okay, so to build a two-car garage is gonna be over 20,000, like 23,000 or so, between 70 to 23,000, depending on the company. So no, you want to repair, even if you need to do the entire framing of the garage and put a new roof, you want to repair, okay? Because yeah, doing a new garage, the village even is going to ask you to put a new like foundation, the cement on the garage. So no, you don't want to do a new garage. Great question. Another one is major tuck pointing. Absolutely. So there's a lot of tuck pointing, but my biggest concern is that big crack. Is that through settlement? Is that foundation issues? So that could be super, super expensive, okay? Be aware of that. Now, would you replace, another question is, how expensive is it to replace the ceilings inside a home? That's not so much expensive, it's drywall. So you might spend maybe 3,000, 4,000. It's a small property, so I would say 3,500 to do the ceilings, and they can do them very, very fast. So it's not a big ticket item. For rehabs, are you using the 7 to 12K per major system? Yeah, absolutely, Valerie. But plumbing and electric, you have two types. You have the rough plumbing and the rough electric. So that's the rough electric is like putting a new service panel, right? Or putting a new service post. So those type of jobs that's called rough electric is going to be expensive, at least 3,500 and up, plus the finished electrics. You may need to rewire the entire house. So yeah, for those type of major systems that you need to redo, you're looking at least 7 to 12,000. Okay, depending on the size of the property. Absolutely. Why are so many room ceilings painting or paint peeling in the large sheets? What caused the? Okay, so when you see paint peeling off from the ceiling, that might be due to water issue. Okay, there might be bulging. The paint is gonna peel off. So yeah, you've got to be very, very aware of these type of issues. So you've got to check for sure the ceiling, the condition of the roof. Another is sold 120,000, sold 1015 as per Zillow. Okay, so somebody paid. Thank you, Vishal. Somebody paid 120,000 for that property. God bless them. Okay, I'm telling you, our analysis shows you should not have paid more than 100,000 for that property, okay? Because you are going to ask for trouble, okay? Too many investors who are super excited, but they don't know, they don't understand the numbers. That's what happens. They overpay for the property, and they're going to pay dearly for it, okay? So thank you, Vishal, for that. Sold at 120. Thank you for the details. Another question is this an example? If there's a mortgage on the property, let's say 120 left to pay off, how can you pay the 97? Yeah, exactly. So you might not be able, your numbers tells you that you need to pay 97,000 for the property, but those numbers may not work for the seller because they may have a bigger mortgage. the least they can take is maybe 115,000, but that doesn't work for you, right? You've got to look at your numbers, your analysis. In this case, no more than 97,000. So it doesn't matter. You don't move forward with the purchase of the property. Okay, very, very simple. Another question is, well, you estimated max to pay. Okay, thank you. Now, are there any other questions on the line, friends? I just want you to think like the pros, okay? I don't want you to like freak out and then, as they say, analysis paralysis when you look at a property and you say, is this a good deal or not? Apply the $1 million secret, which is adding $100,000 to the asking price. That should be your ARV. And the second thing, the rehab shouldn't be more than 50,000. And focus on properties that are less than 200,000, okay? If you're gonna buy properties in really nice neighborhoods like B plus, A minus, you should be paying somewhere in the 150 to 175 price range. But those properties better appraised for 280, 270, close to 300,000, okay, in those better neighborhoods. If you're gonna pay, like in this case, they want 124 in Berwyn, they better price for 230 and so forth. But the rehab is critical, right? You cannot buy gut rehabs. We stay away from like gut rehabs, okay, because they just take up too much resources, okay? Are there any other questions on the line? Do you avoid homes with basements? Absolutely, okay? Basements, you're asking for trouble. We love crawl spaces, okay? Because guess what? Basements, they may flood, and it might not be your fault. It might be the issue with the pipes from the village, from the main street. You know, there's a backup of sewage water, and then they just come into your property. If you don't have the appropriate sump pumps, boom, your basement gets flooded, and that can cost you about 7,000. Because guess what? Your furnace, your water heater, your washer, your dryer, and whatever personal belongings are gonna be gone. Not only that, you've got to dehumidify the place, you've got to dry it, and you've got to fix it. And then the drywall may not be, you may need to redo it if it's a finished basement. So basements, we don't like basements. And guess what? When it comes to rentals, property with or without basement doesn't make a difference when it comes to the rental market, okay? So keep that in mind. We love no basements, okay? Basements, more work, okay? And then, or are they good to have if they're finished? Would you finish it if needed? No, we won't finish the basements. Like the property in Elmwood Park, we're just gonna paint the basement gray, make sure that it has good lighting, and that's it. We're not gonna put like 15, 20, 30,000 in the basement to finish it. We're not gonna get our money back. The money is not in the basement. You've got to put your money in the kitchens and bathrooms. Why is that? Because guess who the decision maker is for the house? You think he's the guy? You're wrong. Women. So what do women like? Kitchens, bathrooms. So that's where you need to put your money. When you put your money in kitchens and bathrooms, you're gonna get that money twice as much. Okay. When it comes to appraisal, because if you put money into the basement, it's not gonna make a big difference on the appraisal back end value. But if you put it in the kitchen or the bathroom, it's gonna be really good. Okay. So no, don't finish basements. Great question. And then another question is, don't crawl spaces also have the risks? Okay, so they can, we have properties with crawl spaces. Sometimes we've had water issues, but they're not as bad, okay, as when you have basements, okay? So we prefer crawl spaces all day long, okay, over basements. What if you could get the property or under 90,000 from wholesaler? Would you ever take it, even with the big rehab, or you won't? You know, that's a great question, Valerie. If we could get the property for 90,000, I would say I would, if it's in a great neighborhood, if I know that I can move the property fast, so it's gotta be in a great flipping market, okay? If it's in a rental market, I wouldn't take the risk. But if it's in a great flipping market, I think we might take on the project. If we can get it for the right price, but it requires a lot more work, because I want to be able to sell the property if I want to for top dollars. If I'm going to take on this big project, I better sell the property fast if I don't want to hold it, right? So the only condition for us to take on this big project of 70,000 is if it's in a great flipping market. Unfortunately, Berwyn is not a great flipping market, okay? So in this case, we wouldn't do it. Great question, Valerie. Um, what do you mean with rentals? It doesn't matter if there is a basement. Absolutely. It doesn't really matter. If, like, for instance, we have a property in Cicero that is renting for 1775, another one in Streamwood for 1770, and they have crawl spaces. If they had a basement, I don't think we could rent those properties for over 1800. That's asking for too much. So basements are not making the big difference when it comes to rentals. When it comes to flipping, it helps. Okay, so thank you for clarifying that. When it comes to rentals, having a basement is not going to get you higher rental prices. But when it comes to flipping, yes, because a lot of people value the extra space in the basement. Okay, so if you have a finished basement for a flip, boom, they're going to be all over that versus a property without a basement. So for flips, it does make a difference. Okay. Another question is, where are the best places to buy kitchens and bath? Okay, so we get a lot of stuff from Home Depot. That's our favorite place. We have a special place for kitchen cabinets, but for the most part, we buy everything from Home Depot. We love lighting from Menards. We don't buy from Lowe's or Hobby Lobby. No, we love Home Depot. They give us great discounts. They have the Pro Desk and they put it into the bidding system. So when you do a project, they put everything into the bidding system and they give you additional discounts. So we really like Home Depot. Another question is that because of the back end refinance issues to buy and hold? Which, yeah, when you buy and hold, you've got to have the 25% equity on the back end, Valerie, to be able to refinance successfully and perhaps be able to cash out. But if you don't have that back end equity, you won't be able to cash out. In fact, you might have to bring money to closing when it comes to refinance. You've got to hit the numbers as I gave you right here on the board. Another question is, on rentals, garage helps more than basements. Is this true? So great question. For rentals, does the garage help more than the basements? Believe it or not, it doesn't. The sister property that we have doesn't have a garage. Elmwood Park doesn't have a garage. So long you're not in the city, right? If you're in the city of Chicago, parking is critical. You've got to have a garage. But if you're in the suburbs, a garage is sometimes it's sort of expected, but it's not necessary. So as long as they have enough parking spaces, a garage is not going to be a deal breaker for rentals. When it comes to flips, of course, it's going to add a $25,000, $30,000 premium to your asking price when you have a garage. But for rentals, crawl spaces, basements, and garage are not going to make a big difference. Okay, when it comes to asking for top rental prices. Amazing questions, guys. Another question is, repeating my previous question, got skipped, sorry. Do you avoid homes with basements? Absolutely, we can, yeah. Or are they good to have if are finished, or would you finish them? So no, for rentals, we avoid basements altogether. But if it's a great location and the numbers work, fine, we'll take it with basement. So that's the least of our concerns, the basement, so long it doesn't have foundation issues in the basement, okay? But for the most part, if we were to choose basement versus no basement all day long for rentals. You want a boring, simple property for rentals. 3 bedroom, 2 bath, no basement. and ideally garage. But if you don't have a garage or you don't have a basement, so be it. It's okay. You're gonna make still good rental money from them. But for a flip, the more perks, the more bells and whistles you have, the likelihood of you selling the property quicker for top dollars is higher, right? So for flips, you need all the bells and whistles. For rentals, not quite, okay? But in the city of Chicago, parking is a big pain, so you gotta have at least assigned parking, if not garage. Um, so guys, we're gonna give you, do you prefer siding or brick? Oh, brick, 1,000 times. Is replacing siding very expensive? Yeah, replacing siding could be, we just did it in a property in Homewood. That was like about $23,000 expense doing siding everywhere. So siding could be expensive. So all day long, brick versus siding. Amazing questions. Guys, we're going to give you free access to Chicago Deal Vault. Phil, could you please post instructions for everyone on the line who don't have access to Deal Vault to get it for free for the next 30 days? The promo code is going to be virtual, okay? Do you prefer, oh, okay, so amazing questions, guys. You were on fire tonight. I mean, I was so impressed, okay? Totally impressed. You guys understand and know what you're talking about. So please add these secrets to your tool set, okay? When analyzing a property, think and act like a pro, okay? At 100,000, recap should be less than 50, and you're gonna hit all the key numbers that everyone is going after to qualify the property for a big home run deal, okay? So again, thank you everyone for joining today. I look forward to seeing you on Sunday at 1 p.m. Phil, please can you send the RSVP link for Sunday's event, and please make sure that you RSVP for tonight so that you get the replay tomorrow. Okay. Thank you for your kind words, Valerie. Another question is, you're awesome, Hugo. Oh, thank you very much. How do you know what's under siding shape of the structure? So under the siding, you're gonna have the main framing of the house, okay, and typically that's all made out of wood. Okay, so it's all wood behind the siding. But again, you want to have brick 1,000 times over siding. For the maintenance, it's easier just doing the tuck pointing, and also property values of brick homes are 15,000 more than siding homes. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining. I look forward to seeing you on Sunday 1 p.m. We're going to remain on the line for the next few minutes to help you answer questions and to get you sign up if you still don't have access to Viable. We want to give it to you for free. I want to make sure that you have all the tools for you to be able to come up with ARVs, pool comps, understand your max allowed offer, and so forth. Okay. So thank you everyone for joining. I look forward to seeing you on Sunday 1 p.m. Okay. Another question is, so do you never buy and hold or flip with siding? Oh, no. We have like the property number park is siding, Streamwood siding. So we have a lot of properties with siding. It's just like whatever comes. If the property is in a great location, great price, not much rehab, but it's siding, fine, we'll take it. It has basement, fine, we'll take it. It doesn't have garage, fine, we'll take it. Like the property in Elmwood Park, it doesn't have a garage, it's siding, and it has a basement. But we got it for 150. We put in 50. That's all in 200,000, but it appraised for 280. So we have over 30% equity on the back end, and it's going to cash flow all day long. So yeah, we'll just obviously prefer brick, garage, no basement. But if it's not available, it's okay, so long the numbers work and the location is great and the neighborhood supports your exit strategy. Amazing questions, guys. Can you talk with somebody about Blue Angel? Absolutely. MX Homes, can you please send us your cell phone number. We're going to call you right after the webinar to give you all the details about Blue Angel. Blue Angel pretty much is a yearly membership, but we're going to give you access to a special inventory from large banks that you can buy without any competition at the best possible price. Okay, and not only that, but we can partner up with you, helping you with whatever you need. Okay, whether it's analysis, lining up funding, whatever the case may be. Those are the main benefits of the Blue Angel. Not only that, when it comes to the monthly fee, it's going to be cheaper. You're going to be saving 25% when you do the yearly membership versus the monthly. So it's just sort of like a no-brainer, irresistible offer to sign up for the Blue Angel membership. But we're going to call you after the webinar. So if you can send us your cell phone number, that'll be great. Phil, can you please make a note? Now, break is solid and easy to see if issues. Absolutely. What would the, let me see, the question is, what would be signs that there's an issue with the structure underneath the siding? You know, that's a great point. So unfortunately, you're not able to see anything behind siding. So it's gonna be tough. The only thing that you can find out with the siding is that if you push it, it might be soft on the back, right? Or you can just pretty much, if the siding has issue or behind is wet, it's not properly installed, you're gonna feel it, right? It might just disintegrate because you have wood siding, you have aluminum siding, so just feel it. If it moves, if it's not well installed, you're gonna know right away for siding. But that's what I don't like about siding, right? It's not the best material. Let's put it that way. And it requires maintenance. Okay. Oh, thank you, Alberto. So we're gonna give you a call right after the webinar. If anybody needs a call back after the webinar, please send us your cell phone, and then we're gonna call you right after the webinar. I'm a Blue Angel member. Please do send me the list of the best REOs. Oh, Phil, can you make a note for Anthony? Let's make sure that he does have access to the REO inventory, that that we have his documents for Jacob to get in touch with him. Thank you, Valerie. So thank you everyone for joining. I look forward to seeing you all on Sunday, 1 p.m.